Good evening, I'm Kyler West, and welcome to 60 Minutes. Tonight's episode is about a battle between state versus education, modern versus tradition, public versus private. Yes, we are going to talk about the Dartmouth versus Woodward case, one of the most influential Supreme Court trials regarding contract cases. Dartmouth College had been around since the days before the Revolution, built on land given to Eleazar Wheelock in 1769 by King George III as a private royal charter. Nothing stood in the way of New Hampshire private college, nothing that is, until the year 1816 when the state of New Hampshire decided they wanted to make Dartmouth a public institution rather than private and sparked a nationwide controversy. Why did the state of New Hampshire want the college to become public so badly?
They believed the principle of the private school was hostile to the free government. The president of the college, John Wheelock, wanted to change the way the board of trustees were elected. He wanted to make the authoritative body more structurally sound. By the way, the land is technically owed to the state anyways.
Why would the land be owed to the state? Didn't the king give it to Dartmouth in the charter?
Yes, but the king's decree is null and void now that the revolution has taken place because he is not in power anymore. The land rightfully belongs to the state now, but because the land titles are now void, we want to make Dartmouth a public college open to everyone.
Is it true that the assets were dwindling and the college's funds were low?
That is correct. Wheelock had contacted the board of trustees to try to get them to change their election system, and this sparked disputes between him and the board, leading to other problems such as loss of funding.
These disputes ultimately led to different factions forming among the school board, with one faction being composed of Republicans who wanted the state to take control of the school. How did this offer a way in to help the school?
Because we are backed by some of the board and members, it allowed the legislature to pass laws that amended the King George Charter of 1763 and make Dartmouth a public school in order to control its land and assets.
Now we're going to talk to the Dartmouth student body about this case. Come on. Hello.
Yes?
Would you like to speak with us for a moment?
Sure.
What's your name?
My name is Jessica.
What do you have to say about the Dartmouth versus Woodward case?
Well, honestly, I was really surprised that we were going to be a public college for a while. It was crazy. I never found out exactly what happened, but I know something with the Constitution rights got messed around. How were we affected? I don't know. I know our president of the college got fired. Our school became public for a little bit, and I don't want to go to a public school. End of story.
Oh, look, there's another student now. Let's go ask her side of the story. Hello.
Hi.
What's your name?
Hi, I'm Britney.
How do you feel about the Dartmouth versus Woodward case?
Well, I would have to side with Dartmouth, obviously. I don't want this place to become a public school. I mean, I applied here because of the religious and prestigious aspects of the school, and it's not only affecting the trustees, it's affecting us as students. And if the private label gets taken away, all of our stuff gets taken away. It's not just about the trustees.
While the students seemed to be informed slightly on the case, the Dartmouth trustees were extremely involved, even calling to sue twice in the duration of the case. The state thought they were right in amending the charter, but Dartmouth thought that the state was wrong to take away their private college status and amend the entire trustee selection process. So was it true that you were a Dartmouth trustee at the time of the trial?
Yes, I was part of the board who deposed the existing president, John Wheelock.
It is said that this decision prompted the New Hampshire legislature to enact an alteration of the charter that brought the board under state control and added overseers who could veto your decisions. Did this sit well with your board of trustees?
No, it did not, because Dartmouth is a private institution, meaning the state shouldn't be involved in anything we decide, including staff reductions. We asked William Woodward, our secretary, to find old records of the charter so we could defend our actions, but he refused. The board saw this as an act of treason against our system of education, so Dartmouth sued. We lost that trial very, very
In the appeal, the trustees at Dartmouth asked Daniel Webster to represent them. Webster was an alumni of the college and strongly agreed with their side of the case to keep Dartmouth out of state's hands. Can I come in? Thank you, Mr. Webster, for letting us talk with you today. Dartmouth didn't agree with the ruling that the state's interference was constitutional, so they wanted a retrial. What did you think of the situation?
I believe that the New Hampshire legislature was violating Article 1, Section 10 of the Constitution when they decided to amend the charter. This article states that any weakening or cancellation of a contract by state government is not in their jurisdiction and is therefore unconstitutional. Dartmouth suing is completely valid in regards to the Constitution. The state only wanted to change Dartmouth into a public school so they can gain access to the many valuable lands there. This is the only reason on the state's part for changing the charter, an invalid reason in my opinion.
Violating the Constitution is a grand offense, so why was it overlooked the first time?
Honestly, I have no idea, but the accusation against Woodward was the issue the first time. I urged Dartmouth to petition the court to force Woodward to return the records and pay $50,000 in fines. They agreed and ended up winning the trial because I made the point that the states couldn't void and plead without due process to stripping Dartmouth of their rights without proper legislative ruling could be dangerous for New Hampshire.
How in the world did you win the second time, but not the first?
Instead of being a state trial, the case was taken on by the Supreme Court. They were more worried about the Constitution than the state governments were. The Supreme Court could not have ruled in favor of the state because their main duty is to declare a case as strictly constitutional or unconstitutional, and this case went against a section of the Constitution.
Once the case traveled to the Supreme Court, Chief Justice John Marshall and the other judges looked at both arguments. Woodward and the state argued that the charter was made by the King of England before the Revolution, so it could be amended. Dartmouth argued that the Constitution was in place now, so the state of New Hampshire had to follow the contract clause because they had a private corporation contract.